Hey everyone, it's Justin here, America's Honest Tax Accountant from Number Crunch Nerds. So the personal tax planning template has been updated for the new up to $10,000 interest deduction on auto loans for vehicles with final assembly in the United States. You can see right here on the personal tax planning template, we're going to have a new section right here for OBA modifications. There's the auto loan interest deduction. This is good from 2025 through 2028. So let's go over the basics here. The deduction is for purchased vehicles only. Leased vehicles are specifically excluded from this deduction. The deduction applies to passenger vehicles, cars, SUVs, minivans, pickups, motorcycles, and ATVs. A qualifying vehicle for purposes of this deduction must weigh under 14,000 pounds. The loan upon which you are deducting interest related to this vehicle cannot be from a relative of yours. The deduction, as I mentioned, is available for 4 years from 2025 through 2028. The deduction is capped at $10,000 per year per tax return. In other words, the cap is the same whether you are filing single or married filing joint. And there is an income phase-out range, which we're going to go over right now in the auto deduction calculator. The range is from $100,000 to $150,000 for single and $200,000 to $250,000 for married filing joint. Okay, so we're here in the auto loan interest deduction calculator. Starting right here with the phase-out range, it will be based on MAGI. So there's our AGI starting point, there's our tax exempt interest, there's our other modifications, and there's our MAGI total right there. Next up is the phase out threshold that I mentioned. 100,000 is where it starts for single and 200,000 is where it starts for married filing joint. Here is the calculation of the dollar amount by which we are over the limit. There is the over the limit factor. There is the deduction phase out per $1,000 over the limit, which is $200. In other words, for each $1,000 by which you are over the limit, the deduction will be reduced by $200. That's the same for single as it is for married filing joint. And then finally right here we have our deduction phase out, which could be a complete phase out, it could be a partial phase out, or it could be no phase out, just depending on your income and filing status. Then we go right down here to the max deduction calculation. There is the grand total that is allowed, there is the deduction phase out, and there is the maximum deduction after phase out. Obviously, depending on what the deduction phase out turns out to be, the maximum deduction after phase out could end up being zero, it could end up being a partial deduction, and of course it could end up being a full deduction, just depending on your income and filing status. Then we get right down here to the actual deduction, which will carry up to the personal tax planning template as well as your tax return ultimately. The deduction itself obviously cannot exceed the actual amount of auto interest paid. So for example, looking at this scenario right here, we are allowed a full $10,000 of deduction right here, but since the actual amount of auto interest paid was only $8,621, we would be limited to the amount actually paid. So that summarizes how the calculator works, and this calculator is now included with the personal tax planning template. In addition, a detailed instructional video regarding how to use the $10,000 auto loan interest calculator, where we will walk through it line by line in detail. That video is now included in the members area for the personal tax planning template program. So if you're already a member, you can log in at your convenience and check that out. And if you're not already a member and would like to understand more about the significant tax planning opportunities that are available over the next 4 years under OBA, make sure to check out my latest YouTube video releases that are specific to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which include the One Big Beautiful Bill Act has been signed into law and what does it mean for you? How does the $40,000 SALT cap really work? One 100% bonus depreciation is back, an all-new free quote-unquote deduction for up to $2,000 in charitable giving, and of course, how is long-term capital gain really taxed? You can find these videos plus many more by simply searching on YouTube for Number Crunch Nerds, One Big Beautiful Bill. So that's going to be it for today's members update video. You can find a link to join the program in the description below this video. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.